Good morning and welcome to a bit about Facebook ads, going from a bit of a beginning through to probably a lot of background stuff as well on what it takes to do your Facebook ads from the most basic point of view right through to some of the more advanced stuff, including custom audiences and also the lookalike audiences, which is something which a lot of people want to get into. They take one look at it and go, "Ooh, that looks really complex." And for the uninitiated, it can be. I'm Dante and James. Welcome. Good to see some people in the room with me today. If you do have questions along the way, please don't hesitate to ask them in the Q&A or in the chat window. I'll be monitoring both of those today on a weird array of screens all around me. Otherwise, if you're watching this on YouTube, please pop your questions in the comments below. And don't forget to like and subscribe to this channel as well, whether you're watching on my channel or on the Business Station channel, because we'd like to be able to deliver a lot more of these through to you in your feed on YouTube as well. Now, I'll just confirm now that you can see my screen loud and clear on there. I'll probably get Eileen to verify that for me because I know you were the first in the room. So if you just let me know just in the chat window that the screen is coming through and you can see more than just me on the screen, that will be fantastic. Unfortunately, I'm using PowerPoint. I usually use Canva for my presentations, and PowerPoint tends to take everything over. So it doesn't allow me to actually see whether I can tell whether that particular screen is being shared. Just waiting on. Thank you very much. Thanks, Eileen. Let's get going. So the first part of this is going to be all about the basics of using the ads manager and using your ads manager to reach particular people with a particular kind of ad. So a little bit about me, if you haven't met me before, I'm a Meta Blueprint lead trainer. Meta is the new name of the Facebook company. Also a Facebook Australia, New Zealand community trainer. So one of 5 of those in Australia, and I met with the whole Asia Pacific team, about 55 of us across everything from Pakistan through to New Zealand yesterday, which is amazing. And also a digital solutions advisor with Business Station right now. What we're going to cover today is a little bit about defining who it is that you'd like to reach. Secondly, determining where your ads are going to appear. So that's the second stage, which we usually, with the who we want to reach, is part of the ad sets, and where they appear will also be part of the ad sets. And I'll explain what that means soon. We're going to look at setting your advertising budget and schedule as well to make sure that you're not spending more than you need to. So with the first part of it, we're creating personalized ads. You want to be able to reach people who are more likely to be interested in what you're offering. Over the years, I guess advertising has become more personalized, more tailored, and it helps ads to be, I think, a lot more relevant to individuals. And I think that's an important thing to keep you a lot more engaged with what ads are. There's nothing worse than getting ads for things you don't have any interest in. You tend to switch off and move away. So the personalized ad experience helps you to connect with people who are most likely to be interested in what you're offering. They can help you to reach people who have shown an interest in your business earlier online. And you can also find new audiences similar to the best customers you already have, and then launch new products and services as well. And because these personalized ads are far more relevant to the people who see them, they can create a much better experience for people and mostly lead to better results for your business as well. It helps people discover the things they love. It also helps businesses like yours to efficiently connect with the people who are far more likely to be interested in your products and services, which means you're more efficient about it. You're going to be a lot more able to stop wasting money on broad scope or broad brush ads that don't really get to the people you want them to. You can help more customers essentially, and then grow your business. That's essentially what personalized advertising allows you to do. But first up, what you need to do as a business, you go into Ads Manager to create an advertising campaign. You're going to run multiple ads at once instead of creating ads separately. I know with boosting, you tend to have that one post that you can then push forward to more people, but it doesn't then allow you to manage what we would call a campaign, which allows you to use multiple bits of creative, multiple targets, multiple types of people to create a much more effective campaign for your business. You need to consider what it is you actually want to achieve. Now, for most of us, I just want to make more money. So we're going to think a little bit more niche and probably a little bit more specific than that. What we want to do is discover what it is we want to ultimately get on this campaign. Not every campaign is going to be leading to a conversion at the end of it. Naturally, we want people to get to know us. We then want them to feel more confident in considering us when it comes to buying whatever we're selling. And then, of course, we want them to convert at the end of that process as well. So first I will start with how to create a campaign in the Ads Manager. Firstly, you need to select an ad objective. Now your objective is a business goal. It's what you want people to do when they see your ad, basically. So for example, you might want to increase traffic to your website, right? So that would then identify the audience that'd be most likely to purchase your product or service. Now, if you're choosing traffic, bear in mind that you're choosing also to have this ad put in front of people who are what we call clickers. And clickers are people who like to click on things. They like to actually explore and read about products and services. They're most likely to be the people who will click, not just because they're interested in what you're selling, but because they are curious people. Then you'll determine who will see your ads, and we'll go into this in more depth shortly. This is when you see, when you select an audience who's going to see your ads. So basically, in this case, they looked at Chicago, Illinois, about 25 miles around. You might select Darwin or Perth or Brisbane or the Gold Coast, and a certain radius around that as well. You also select things like location demographics, the interests that people have. In this case, it's showing Italian cuisine, if you can read that on the screen, and things like behavioral connections. And behaviors can be people who are engaged shoppers. They can be small business owners if you're a business to business enterprise. And also the kind of connection they have with you, whether they are people who are connected to a page of yours already that you want to advertise to, you can do that too. And then you can also choose where and when your ads are going to appear. So you decide which apps to run your ads on and whether they'll appear in the Facebook news feed, the Instagram feed, stories, in-stream video, which is the before, during, and after video content placements, or in article in the audience network. And the audience network I'll explain a little shortly. It's a fairly no one really understands it that well, except to discover that it's a selection of other web pages and other apps that your ads can appear on. They're outside Facebook itself. Now, there's a variety of different ad formats to choose from as well. So you can look at these, from images, videos. You might want both. For this training, we're going to focus on determining who's going to see your ads and choosing where and when your ads are going to appear. So first of all, who do you want to have seeing your ads? This is probably an important thing to consider, because we should be aware of how we spend how our customers spend their time, and then how we want to set a budget to achieve the goals we're looking for. So if you're identifying your audience, the group of people more likely to be interested in what your business has to offer can increase the effectiveness of the ads, because you're not just splattering it out to everybody. You're actually targeting in on the certain kind of person. Now, in smaller populations, so let's talk about somewhere like Alice Springs in the middle of Australia, or somewhere like, I don't know, Albany in Southwest WA. When we're looking at smaller population areas, the targeting you do is less effective, because Facebook works on numbers. It's a system that works on billions rather than dozens. So when you're looking at smaller populations, even as small as Cairns, Townsville, Mackay, Darwin, places like that, even down to Bustleton, Bunbury, they're sort of places that are considered quite small in terms of what Facebook goes to. So the less customization you can do for those areas, the better. What you want to do is more so get to as many people as possible in those areas, and do a little bit of what we're going to do later on, which is the retargeting through custom audiences to be able to do that. Now, when you create Facebook ads on Facebook, you can, if you're going a lot more broad, say nationally, reach people through personalized content that you've created based around who they are, what they like, what their behavior is, what their online activities are, and the hobbies that they have as well. So to help you define that target audience, ask yourself 3 really basic questions. Number 1, what do your customers need? What do they need to hear from you? Second, where are they located? Are they nationally? Could they be in Sydney, Melbourne, Brisbane, Adelaide, Perth, Hobart, Geelong, Wollongong, Newcastle, or smaller places like Dubbo, Orange, Mandurah, Kalgoorlie, Alice Springs again, or maybe somewhere like Emerald or Charleville? If there's smaller places like that, you've got to consider that you're going to have a lot smaller population to draw on. So the less filtering down of interest you do, the better, because you can get in front of more people. And then also, then, what are some of the characteristics that your customers tend to share? Do you find that your customers tend to be women? Do you find they tend to be men? Do you find that they tend to be people who like soccer? Whatever the characteristics are that your customers tend to share, whether they're business owners as well is another good one. that will determine how you can send ads through to them. So let's take a look at some sample audiences that businesses might create. I've got an example with Little Lemon, which is a restaurant, a Mediterranean-based restaurant. Secondly, Lucky Shrub, which is a plant nursery, particularly working with succulents, and Hair Day, which is a boutique hair salon. So what we're going to do is look at these as just general examples of the kinds of business that might be looking to have their ads. Excuse me, I'm just coming out of having COVID, coming out of isolation today. So I may have the occasional cough and break to drink some water. There we go, back to it. So Little Lemon's a local restaurant chain that serves traditional Mediterranean recipes with a modern twist. And here is the target audience that they've gone and created. So look, they might be about people who the needs could be for people who have want to have reasonably priced quality food, or something like a large wine selection, which an Italian restaurant will tend to have, right? Then also might be things like the demographics. So there could be that they're looking for people aged between 46 and 55 who have large disposable incomes, married women and men, professionals who live in or around a particular city. And then the interests would be something where they're people who are seeking convenient options. So what are the things that convenient people who are after convenience have in common? One of the things they want to do is avoid the need to cook after a long day at work, because these are professionals. They might desire quality food products like, authentic Mediterranean dishes and very diverse wine options. They are foodies pretty much. If they're people who are foodies, they're going to love this kind of thing. So you think, as a restaurant owner, what do people need from you? Who are they? And what are the things they're already interested in? And this gives you the insights into who you might be aiming that at. Now, Lucky Shrub, they're a plant nursery that sells indoor and outdoor plants, mostly succulents. And they're kind of this one-stop shop kind of place for clients who want to transform their spaces, their home offices particularly, into a bit of an oasis. So here's a target audience that they created. So their need would be for house plants that are easy to maintain, plants that don't need to get a lot of light but can spruce up a space. Things like fiddle leaf figs and those kind of indoor plants which do quite well without having to have lots of sunshine or lots of maintenance. The second one, we'd be looking at their demographics, who the people are. They're between 20 and 35. They're professionals, usually don't have kids or family because they know that succulents and cacti are very bad for having around kids. They may live around a particular city. They could be living around, let's just say, the Sunshine Coast, in apartments or smaller spaces. These are not people who own the quarter-acre block. These are people who are in 2 to 3 bedroom apartments and high rises. And then the interest would be for people who desire a bit of a green space without having a garden space or a backyard. And they're seeking very easy to maintain plants, like my Sturt's Desert Rose, which is sitting out on my balcony at the moment in a bonsai pot. And I've managed to keep that thing alive now for 1.5 years. I didn't think I would, but apparently they're very, very hard to kill. Now, Hair Day is the other example. They're a boutique hair salon that specializes in cutting, coloring, and styling. And the target audience they were after was going to be for the need, quick, convenient, easy to maintain haircuts, and convenient and affordable hair salon. So somewhere they can, they can get maintenance cuts where it's quite affordable. It's not going to be completely out of ridiculous reach of those super boutique salons which charges you $300 for a haircut. That's not who Hair Day is. The demographics is between 36 and 45, married women, professionals or stay-at-home mums who may live around a particular, maybe a smaller town where they happen to be located. So that town, let's just say, for example, is Bunbury in Western Australia. So they're looking for people who are particularly in that area, looking for cheaper haircuts, not super cheap. They're not looking for just cuts or anything like that, but someone who can get things like maintenance color, maintenance cuts, all that kind of thing. And their interest would be that they're people who want to be fashionable. They're people who want to, show a little bit of style, even though if they've got really busy lifestyles, so they don't have a lot of time to be spending on their hair. The other thing is too, they want to actually go to a salon that takes reservations, turn out to those Just Cuts, Quick Cuts, all those kind of places, and barbershops like, I used to, I don't really need to these days. I just run a clippers over mine. But in their case, they want to go to somewhere where they have a dedicated time to do it rather than a place where they just sit down and line up. Now, what you'll do now is creating I guess, an audience. And in this, what we want to do is make it so that you can find out who it is you want to advertise to. Now, you've got a fairly good idea of who these people are. So what you really need to do is create your audience and then decide where you want your ads to appear, right? So then you want to decide where people see your ads. So is it going to be on Facebook, Messenger, Instagram, that audience network we were talking about before? Or do you want it to be everywhere? And honestly, most of the time, I would just say to select your placements, I would just turn automatic placements on. It's manual placements mean you can go, okay, I definitely know that people I'm after are only on Instagram, so I only want to advertise on Instagram. But if you do select manual placements, you have to have a very, very good idea that that's actually what's going on. Not just a guess, not just a hunch, but to have the data that proves that. If it's your first time advertising or you don't know exactly where the people are who are most likely to connect with you, then I recommend using automatic placements. So during campaign setup, this option enables you to run the ads across all the Facebook family of apps. So you can deliver ad content on the platform that's most likely to contribute to campaign results. And the best part of this too is that the Facebook ads platform will also choose the platforms and it'll say, okay, if I'm getting lots of results now on Facebook, I'm going to send more of your budget towards Facebook and less of it towards Instagram. And it works that out probably within a few days, but probably about 2 weeks is where you get to that ultimate optimization where it really understands what the kind of person you're looking for is. And that's the beauty and the big difference between boosting and the ads platform is the boosting's for short bursts. So think of it as like a very short, no more than 2 weeks. It doesn't need to learn anything. It just needs to blast out a message. That's great. That's boosting. For the ads platform, it lets you over those 2 weeks, it optimizes itself. The boosts don't, they just go out. But the optimizing means that it takes notice of what the things are that people are most interested in. What are the kinds of people that are most likely to be responding to your ads, and then brings you more people just like those. So even if you select a selection of people which are not really matching with the kind of people who are out there, it will then make corrections on that to say, actually, we're going to pick some people who are slightly outside of your interest in order to be able to get you a better result. So definitely doing this helps you to maximize your results. So for example, we're going to take a look at how Lucky Shrub chooses to place its ads on Facebook, Instagram, and Messenger so they can reach their audience across different platforms. So they're going to put a certain kind of ad on Facebook's feed. They're going to do what is called a carousel ad. Then on Instagram, they're doing what is just a post, like a regular photo ad. So that looks kind of cool. You can see those different plants there. They look like they might be baby aloes or something like that. Then you might say, okay, on the Messenger platform, then what is the sort of ad that's going to appear on there and how does it look? And then finally in the audience network, you'll have some pictorial kind of presentations which allow you to show your very best details that will be taken notice of in things like other websites and other apps. Now what we're going to do is determine how much you're going to spend and how long your campaign's going to run for. With this, we tell Facebook how much we want to spend, and we'll try to get you as many results as possible for that amount. So Facebook is going to go and say, okay, I want to deliver the best possible value for this advertiser that I can. So to get the best out of it from your perspective, you need to have 2 different ways to define your budget. And that is in daily budgets, where you will look at the average amount you want to spend on an ad set or campaign each day. Daily budgets don't provide a fixed limit. They're just pretty much, if I spend $5 a day, or it's roughly about $150 a month, you don't have necessarily a set time limit for that to run. It just runs it every day. And this is for branding and very, very valuable for just keeping yourself in the top of the mind of the most important people you're trying to reach with your message. Then there's also lifetime budgets, and they're the total amount you want to spend on your entire campaign. So for instance, you run a lifetime budget for maybe 3 months, and in that 3 months, you say, I'm going to spend this particular amount in 3 months. I'm going to spend $1,500 over 3 months. So 15, that's about $500 a month. And you've decided that's really fair for you. And that's what you want to spend, no more. So Facebook goes and attempts to spend all that money. Sometimes it can't. If you're tight, really, really tight on your target, it won't spend all your money, but it'll do the best it possibly can to reach people with that budget. So how much you spend will also affect how long your campaign is going to be. So you want to be able to determine your ad budget. You need to ask yourself a couple of questions. And number one, how much are you willing to spend? And you really need to go into these things. I think we need to start normalize the act of making a budget for how much we realistically can spend on things like advertising and marketing. As someone who works in this field all the time, I can tell you now that the most annoying things is when someone comes to you and says, how much does it cost? Then you automatically know that they probably don't have a budget set aside. So they have no idea what they need to think of. There's lots of formulas out there. They range from having 10% of your revenue going towards marketing through to thinking about an actual amount that you're comfortable with. I spend about $300 a month for my own business on Facebook locally with the Darwin metropolitan area. So that's and that does very well for me. That just keeps bringing through new training work for me all the time, which is nice. It definitely pays its way. But you might be going for much bigger lots of people, or even much smaller lots of people. You may be able to spend less than that. Or if you're looking to get into other states and territories, then that might be a bit higher again for you. But you've got to have an idea of how much you want to spend, and you want to do have an idea too of excuse me, of how much control you want to have over that spending. So do you want to just have this thing go on and on and on, spending a certain amount per month, like you would with a TV or radio campaign? Or do you want to say, I want to have this exact amount spent between now and this date? And then also thinking about how long you want to run your ads for. So you might have an idea that you want to get a certain amount of new business before Christmas. Then you'll be running it from now through to Christmas, obviously, or just maybe into November to make sure you secure that work for the Christmas period and post-Christmas period. Or you might just go, I just need to make people aware of my new range of my particular product, and I can run it just for 3 weeks, and that's enough for me. You really have to have these questions answerable. How much are you willing to spend? How much control do you want over the budget? And how long do you need to run those ads for? So setting your budget and schedule can be done in the Ads Manager by selecting a daily or lifetime budget, which you've already decided to do. So let's say a lifetime budget of $250. And then when you select for a lifetime budget, you can then refine your ad schedule even further by showing advanced options to view this scheduling option. So the advanced options then take you through to things like setting your date, your start date, your end date, your start time, your end time. A lot of the time, this doesn't come in a local time because of some setting that would have been done ages ago. It might come up in Pacific Standard Time in the US. So you might do some time conversions. For people in the Northern Territory, we don't seem to exist on there. We come up as the equivalent would be something like Broken Hill, but it's always going to be an hour out. I would say just do everything from midnight to midnight in as close as possible as you can, because the time ultimately doesn't matter so much as what the start date and the end date is going to be. So once you've selected those, now we're going to move on to, specifically saying on a schedule, we want to say, don't advertise overnight or just advertise on certain days of the week. You may think that, it's a good idea to not run it on Saturday and Sunday because people who you are targeting are not active and not looking to shop for things on those days. So you might block out Saturday and Sunday, or you might just block out the time between 9 p.m. and 6 a.m. and just advertise from 9 to 9, just those 12 hours, and you'd be fine with that. You can pick your days, you can, pick every day at a certain time. Just don't get too technical in here. I think the least you do in here, the better, because you want to be able to let Facebook find your clients no matter when they're around. So once your ad's published, it enters what we call a learning phase. And when it goes that learning, and you've created it, the learning phase is an initial stage where we recommend that you wait before you make any sort of adjustments, so the system has time to optimize itself. It's also important to note that the performance can change over time. So the more fiddling you do, if you get a weekend, you go, oh, I don't like this, quick fiddle with something, it then has to reset and do this whole learning period again. So initial results don't necessarily indicate how your ad will perform in the long term. I know that when I first started my campaign I'm running now, that it didn't perform particularly well for the first 2 weeks. And then about week 3.5 to 4, it seemed to be like that hockey stick growth that suddenly just upticked. And it's like it found its feet and it's been running really well ever since. And it goes down some weeks and up other weeks. It seems to know who I'm looking for and knows where to find those people now. So during this learning phase, the delivery system is exploring pretty much what is the best way to deliver your ads. So performance is less stable in the earlier parts and the cost per action is a bit higher in this part, but that's okay because the learning phase occurs when you create a new ad or an ad set. So basically it can have time to settle in and find those people you're after. The more an ad is shown then, the better the delivery system becomes at optimizing your performance. This is why you should really avoid those unnecessary edits because they cause the ads to re-enter that learning phase again, which you don't really want to do that. That's the worst performing part of it. Edits that meaningfully change how your ad set might perform, such as different targets, different creative that you're putting in there, they're all going to reset that ad to cause it to go back in the learning phase. So you really need to, I guess, make sure that you avoid making those changes. Next, your ad might have successfully exited that learning phase. So once it reaches about 50 results, so for example, if you're directing traffic to your website, you'd need about 50 clicks to get through to the website to exit that learning phase. Or if you're looking for conversions, you need 50 conversions to exit that learning phase. So any reactions and comments and shares your accounts get won't count to this. It's all to do with going through to the final place where you want people to go to, whether it's a website, a landing page, your Facebook page, an Instagram account, wherever it is. And then that's when we look to review things. And reviewing things is where we are able to look at what is happening so we can make adjustments. Now, we don't want to make those adjustments before we get to the run stage. We want to make it now. So once we see what's working, we might go, oh, okay, I'm going to change the photo I'm using. I'm going to change slightly the target I'm going for now that I understand that people in this particular town are not responding, but this town over here is doing really well. And that's where you refine it. And then you start all over again, where we go back into the learning phase and go, okay, now I'm ready to continue going on with my learnings and the things that I've hooked up along the way. And now I'm creating a new version of the ad that should go through the learning phase again to run. So you kind of go in this cycle, but don't do it before it exits the first learning phase, because that's when it's going to sort of take a lot longer for you to get some kind of good results from it. Now, if you're just starting to advertise, there's a few tips where you can start with your budget and duration. Start running your ads for 7 days at least. I actually preferred about 10. I like 10 days, but 10 days for me feels a lot more comfortable. And it seems to be like what takes time for my customers and my clients to find me and interact with me through that. This time frame helps you find more people who are likely to take action in your ad. So just let it run for that 7 to 10 days before you start fiddling. And begin your campaign with a small budget and then adjust appropriately. From that refining part where you analyze your ads, the results of your ads and see how they're running, that's where you're going to start to know whether you need to make changes or not. So if you think, oh, really, I'd like to get this in front of a lot more people, you might go, well, I need to spend a little bit more and have a bit of a higher budget here. So I'll go from $5 a day to $10 a day just to make that work better. There are some minimums to reach your ads. So you might get in here and it says, oh, you need to expend, $1 a day you can't do. You need to spend at least $1.37 a day in order to reach anybody of meaningfulness in your goals. So take notice of those notices as they come up when you're setting your budget. They're there to guide you. Basically, they're not there to make you spend more. They're there to guide you in what's actually going to work, as opposed to, oh, I'm just going to put 50 cents on, and then it says, you're not going to reach anyone with that. It's not quite enough for the population you're trying to reach. The key takeaways from this first half are all about reaching your appropriate audience with your ads by determining the needs of your customers, the type of people they are in the demographics, the things they're interested in, and the kind of behaviors they have. You can also then consider where you want your ads to be shown. You can use automatic placements to run ads across Facebook ads. I really actually always think you should use that whole automatic placements. I don't think selecting individual placements is a smart way to go, because I don't think anyone is as smart as what an algorithm is, because it knows all the information about what's going on there. It's far more likely to pick the right places than you are. And decide how much you want to spend in your ads and how long you want to run them for. So this is the very basic sort of beginning of ads. So we've had a little bit of a look inside the ads platform. We're seeing what the idea is, what a campaign is, how to select how much you want to spend, who you want to send that ad to. We haven't really gone to the creative part of the ad yet. That's something which I think you can take a bit more of a look at offline, and we can look more like that in we'll look at that more in like a one-to-one if you want to do one of those. So we certainly offer those as part of this program. And if you're in certain parts of Australia, other programs as well. So the second part is reaching people who are likely to become your customers. This is where we look at things like custom audiences, lookalike audiences, and playing with the data that we're picking up either from our own websites or from your customer list or from the results you're getting from your Facebook page or Instagram profile as well. It's about using the data that's there to better reach people in a more meaningful way. So what we're going to cover is how to reach people interested in what you're offering, how to re-engage customers with custom audiences audiences. So these are the people you already know of. And then the big kahuna, this is the one I love the most, finding people similar to current customers with a thing called lookalike audiences. And these are fun because they are able to say, hey, here's the people who are really good in my customer list. Find me more people just like that. So to reach people interested in your offerings, it's all about, I guess, understanding that advertising has become a lot more personal and tailored, and it's usually more effective because people do prefer ads that are relevant to them. I know that when I'm forced to watch broadcast television when I'm at my parents' place at night, and that's our little social thing together, is to watch whatever the latest reality show is, I keep seeing all these ads for products and services that mean nothing to me. They're so far from being interesting to me that I just switch off or walk away, go to the fridge, get a drink, or I don't take notice of it all. But when we see ads that are actually about us and our interests, it makes a difference. It becomes educational, knowing what's out there. I like actually seeing ads that are targeting, because it means I know what's available in the marketplace. And sometimes you don't know what you need until you're shown something that you need. So personalized ads, they help you connect with people who are most likely to be interested in what you have to offer. Advertising sounds like very spend your money, but it really does help people discover things they love. For instance, one of the examples for me is a sock company. So they're called Odd Pairs, and it's spelled like the fruit, Odd Pairs. And what they do is sell socks in pairs of 3. That's not a pair, I know, it's a trio, I think, but it's pairs of 3. So what it is 2 of them match, and then there's one that doesn't. It's usually like a reverse color of the ones that do match. And I never would have known about them unless I came across them through an ad on Instagram. And I thought that was such an amazing thing, because you know how we're always losing socks, right? You always lose the matching sock. Well, what about if you had one which you don't have to, like, there's no rule that says you have to match your socks. They don't actually have to be matching. So if you have them as they're odd, and that you build that into your wardrobe, it's a lot of fun. So I thought, that's me. I've got a little bit of quirkiness to me. I wouldn't mind having some odd socks. And so I got them. Now they're the only socks I ever buy. Every time I get holes in socks, I buy another lot from Odd Pairs. I'm about due to buy another couple of pair this week, actually. Advertising also helps you as a business to connect with the potential customers much more specifically in where they're at. So there's 3 types of audiences that the Facebook family of apps will let you advertise in the Ads Manager. First one is core audiences. And this is people that are based upon where they are, their demographic information, age, location, the things they're interested in, the basic stuff we can get out of Facebook. Then we get to some really powerful ones. Next up is custom audiences. This is people who have already had some kind of interaction with the business. That could have been through, well, actually, I'm going to take a look at this shortly, because there's some really interesting ones in there you may not have considered before. And then finally, the lookalike audiences, which really take the power of understanding who your customers are and takes that a step further and says, go find me more people who are similar to the people who are already my customers. So if we look at Little Lemon, who is our one of our examples we were using earlier on, think of the core audience of people who are most likely to be interested in what you have to offer. So to define a core audience, you have to select characteristics, as we showed before, like their location, their demographics, their interests, their behaviors, their connections. And this is how Little Lemon's done. It's a fictitious restaurant, as you remember, that serves Mediterranean recipes, and they want to be able to create a core audience based upon what they determine is their ideal customer. So you might have done some work on your client avatar or your client persona, something like that. That's where you'll now apply that to the kind of people you want to attract to you. So by choosing only a few of the following traits, you can go that these people need reasonably priced quality food, a large wine selection, ages 30 to 55. We ran through this a little bit earlier. Married people, professionals, they live around a certain area, that kind of thing. And then their interests, we then would choose that it's Mediterranean food or Italian cuisine or something like that. Excuse me. Now we're going to discuss how we want to re-engage people who've already had some sort of engagement with your business. So we understand the core audiences. That's what we did in the first half of this lesson. In your custom audiences, understand them as a way to continue the conversation you've had with people who've already shown some interest in your business, such as your most loyal customers or people who might have used your app or might have visited your website. You can then show them relevant ads when they visit the Facebook or Instagram apps or sites within the audience network. With custom audiences, you can add additional rules, like things like frequency and recency. How frequently have they visited my website? How recently did they interact with something on my Facebook page or my Instagram profile? And how much time they spent on my website. So you can then retarget ads to people based on very specific interactions. Now, bear in mind, this kind of thing is done in aggregate, so you're never going to be able to target an individual person. That would be a pretty gross violation of privacy, and we don't really want to do that. So what we want to do is target the person through the knowledge that at least the platform has about that person. So it's usually in groups of people. Now, to get those groups of people, you have to have numbers, right? You can't just have 1 or 2 people visiting your website every month. You need to have a good chunk of people who are taking these actions. Because if you want to find those people, you want to deliver more than 2 ads in a month, don't you, for those 2 people who happen to visit you. So you want to do some work on making sure you've got lots of people coming to your website so you know who it is you want to retarget. You also need to bear in mind too that people who are doing that on an iPhone these days won't be able to be tracked. So we won't be able to track those people, but we will be able to track people on Android devices, desktops and laptops, that kind of interest. Now, website visits are not the only way to do this. Custom audiences can be run from lots of different ways. We can have people we can create a custom audience based upon different sources. So the sources act as the source for your audience. You can decide which one of these sources best aligns with what you want to achieve. So it could be in say, selecting your sources. They're from your website, your app, your customer list. This is where you've got maybe a MailChimp list where you've got 400 or 500 people, 3,000, 20,000 email addresses that you can use to shape who you want to advertise to. You want to advertise to people on your list. Then if they're using that same email address or phone number that you have in their Facebook account, then Facebook will be able to find them and send that ad to them. Now, it's not going to tell you who it sent it to specifically. It doesn't keep that information. It just gets what is called a hashed set of information that says, oh yeah, match, throw out the original file because that's a privacy problem. And now that we know the kind of people we're after, send it to them. So it can also be your offline activity. If you've got a point of sale system that allows you to export your customers' details, you can do that as well. Then secondly, there's Facebook sources, the sources that come from Facebook's family of apps. And this includes people who may have watched your videos, they might have completed a lead form on your ads previously, they might have interacted with your products in a shopping experience, maybe gone to your Facebook shop or maybe to a carousel ad, or they might have visited your Instagram profile perhaps, or they might have had a look at an event, they might have RSVP'd to one of your events. All these things can be something you can then find those people and retarget them with their new information. So using the following template, you can help plan the type of audience you want to reach by evaluating your data sources and how you want to re-engage those customers. You then have a far better idea of how to reach those people and through what sources you're getting the information about them from. So first up, let's look at how the team at Little Lemon use this template to determine their custom audience for their next ad campaign. So they recently ran a video campaign that featured a whole lot of new menu items. So they decided to create a custom audience in the Ads Manager of people who watched at least 10 seconds of their video. So they're choosing video and they want at least 10 seconds of that video. They decide to retarget the ads to this audience. They want to follow up with a second ad campaign to show people who saw their video ad and send them a discount code for free shipping when they purchase one of the meal kits that they're sending. So they've selected the data sources of video or a particular video that they showed either on their posts or in an ad campaign. And then they want to retarget this audience, right? So once we've done that, we then go, okay, we may want to exclude people who've already visited the website. So you've got the option in there to not just target and collect a group of people, but you can also exclude certain people. And you don't want to exclude them based upon really icky things like race or language groups or that. What you want to do is exclude people who may already have interacted with you. They might have been a website visitor who has already converted. You don't want to send them another ad because that's just really weird and it's wasting your time and money doing that. So you want to make sure you're getting to fresh people who haven't already gone to your website to look at this stuff. Next, we're going to discuss how to find new but similar audiences to your best ones that you already have. They're called lookalike audiences. You can reach new people who are similar to your most valuable existing customers with what is called lookalike audiences, the way to connect with people who are the most likely to respond to your product or service, but haven't already done so. So they're not your current customers, but we find them through understanding who your current customers are. So you can use lookalike audiences to grow your customer base beyond your current geographical region, for instance, or you might want to use it to go beyond, to basically get those people who are so similar to your best high value customers that they are very, very likely to be very interested in what you're doing. So you do that by letting Facebook know who your most valuable customers are. So when you create a lookalike audience, you have to choose a custom audience to act as your source. So we just did the custom audiences. So we did those video views. You can take those, and instead of creating an ad that goes to those people, what we want to do is create an ad that goes to people like them, not to them, but people like them. So the source audience is what your lookalike audience is going to be based on. So if you don't have your pixel installed on your website when you create a lookalike audience, you then have to create a custom audience to act as your source audience. So the Facebook pixel I won't go through now. It's a piece of code that goes on your website that allows the ads platform to understand if those people have already had some kind of interaction with your website. We're not going to go into a lot of depth with that because it's a bit of a technical process, and you can do a one-to-one with myself through various programs like Digital Solutions to be able to go through that. But if you choose a custom audience to act as your source audience, you can then have a look at, what are the various sources of information you already have. Now, if you do have the pixel installed, you can create your lookalike audience without having to create a custom audience first. So as we move through, let's look at how the team at Little Lemon can create a lookalike audience to reach their new high value customers who haven't interacted with the restaurant website yet, but who are likely to order the new meal kit. So step one, select the lookalike audience. So we've done that. We've selected our lookalike audience by searching. I'll just go back again, lookalike audience, back. Okay, so this is the part where you saw the source you select will help to find people with similar traits. In this case, we're going to look for a lookalike audience that's based upon certain traits that we already know about that customer. So that source contains customer lifetime values that can also help you to create a lookalike audience of people who are similar to the most valuable customers you already have. Next, we go to the audience location. So in this case is US, we want to say Australia. Now you can't go more specific than the country. So you only can select Australia in here. So you go, well, I want to select lookalike, but I don't want to go to everybody in Australia. I want to just go to people, say, in the Gold Coast. Well, then you've got a chance later in the process where you can actually just say, yes, while we're looking at a certain population of Australia, we want to go and select people who are just specifically on the Gold Coast. So you just go, yeah, it must be someone who's on the Gold Coast, or you exclude the rest of Australia and just have the Gold Coast selected as a place for be looking at. To do that though, if you want to narrow that down beyond just Australia, you'll need to select the larger audience size in this next bit. And selecting the audience size is looking at the combined population of your selected locations. So a 1% lookalike audience consists of the people who are most similar to your lookalike source. So if that source is picking up people from your customer list, it's going, man, this is super tight on exactly who they are. As you go up higher and higher to less people who are exactly like your best customers, it gets a little less accurate, but it gets a lot more people. Now, my hint in Australia is I never use 1%. I always use at least 3%, because for me in Australia, especially when we've got very large areas that don't have populations, it's less important for me to have accuracy than what it is for me to have the ad going to as many people who may even have a slight interest as possible. Some of the results I've been seeing coming out of some podcasts I've been listening to lately have suggested that it's pretty much between 5 and 7% is the sweet spot. So we've usually been saying if you're in the city, if you're in Sydney, for instance, or you're in Brisbane or Perth, then you can probably get away with the 1 to 2% because you've got a large selection of people already, because your population is large in those centers. But if you're in Darwin, for instance, or somewhere like Hobart, or even somewhere like, let's just say, Port Augusta in South Australia, you need to go to a much higher one, because what you're trying to do is saying, I'm only trying to reach people in this region, so I need to be less accurate with the people I'm targeting, but have at least some semblance of a vague interest in what I'm doing. So stretch that out much higher. Go as high as 10% if you want, if you're going to start narrowing down to a smaller population area. First thing I want to give you a tip on, though, is you need to start with a very high quality audience. In your database, Identify your most valuable customers based on the average spend or purchase behaviors. If you have that information, you may have a, excuse me, a point of sale system that has all that. Use that if you can. You may just have a customer list. Use that. I think in terms of Australia's population lack of density outside of our major cities, if you're advertising in Brisbane, Gold Coast, Perth, that's about the areas that are going to be on this kind of call, apart from those in the Northern Territory, I would say that you probably just need to be quite light on how specific you want your customers to be, because even though we think that Brisbane and Perth are quite big cities, in general scales of Facebook operation, they're very small centers. There are 200 cities in America who are that size or above. So you're talking about like a very different kind of population level in Australia. If you're in somewhere like Darwin, for instance, or Alice Springs, or Cairns, Townsville, Mackay, Bundaberg, Busselton, Esperance, Albany, Kalgoorlie, all those kind of areas, what you want to do is be as loose as you possibly can be. You can't get too specific. So to remember to select only the best customers for your seed list if you're in a big center like Brisbane or Perth. But if you're in a smaller center, anything of under about 200,000 people, then it's very important to not be quite as high quality with it all. Second tip, ensure your source audience has people from the same country. So if this is particularly useful for your advertising within Australia, if your customers and your customer list are from Australia, then make sure that you are actually advertising in that country as well. You can't take an Australian source audience and then apply it to advertising in America. That's a whole different deal. And you need to mainly use maybe your Facebook sources rather than your own sources like your website visitors or your customer list from your MailChimp. So that sort of thing, if you want to expand into another country, what you probably need to do is get out into that country and do a lot more what we call top of funnel awareness advertising. So a lot more brand awareness stuff, a lot of stuff that's just going to reach lots of people, and then build your custom audiences based upon that and your lookalikes based upon that, rather than on data that comes from your Australian audience. And third, don't include additional targeting on lookalike audience if you want to get out to as many people as possible. Now, I kind of said the opposite of that in the previous one. What I'm talking about additional targeting is, say, coming out of your custom lookalike audience and then going, then using interests as well, or using demographics as well, or location as well. In smaller areas, you will need to bring that down to the area that you want to advertise to. In larger cities, you don't probably need to go so hard on it, but in just about every case where you're a local business serving a local area, whether that's a couple of suburbs, a whole town, or a whole metropolitan area, then what you really need to do is make sure that you're not targeting everybody in Australia. You need to target that area because you may not be set up to serve people in other places. That said, if you're working remotely, you're teaching people, coaching people, doing sort of consultations on Zoom calls, then you can let that go sick all over Australia. Get to as many people as you want to get to across Australia, because your customer will be anywhere in the country. So bear in mind, local, you need to restrict it by adding additional targeting. But when you're going national, you don't need to. Just let it find those people for you. Bearing in mind too, remember we had the 1%, the 10%, the 5%, the 7%. The closer the closer to home you are, the more higher that 10% that percentage should be. Right up to 10%. If, for instance, you are in a place as small as say Charleville or Bundaberg or Alice Springs. But if you're in a bigger town, then you can bring that number down. So the smaller the place, the higher the percentage, the bigger the place, the lower the percentage. Hope that makes sense. So key takeaways from this part of it before we go to a little bit of Q&A. Hopefully you've got a few questions. If not, that's okay. We're going to get an early mark today. The first thing we need to do in this is identifying what your customers' needs, demographics, and interests are. You need to have some kind of understanding of who your customer actually is. Secondly, you want to re-engage people who've already shown some interest in your business by using what we call custom audiences. It allows you to send ads to people who already know you, which means they're much more likely to re-engage with you, perhaps even buy something extra from you if you're selling a product, or book a second session with you if you're selling your time. And then finally, find people similar to your highest value customers to expand the reach of your business. So this is the lookalike audiences we were just talking about. This is where you go out a lot further. Now, there's a couple of ways you can learn more on this. The first way is through the Digital Solutions Program. If you've been part of this before, you may not qualify, but if you're in the, for instance, in the Darwin metropolitan area, you can actually access time with me through the Entrepreneurship Facilitators Program. So there's options there. If you'd like to know more about that, just let me know in the chat window and I can let you know how you can take advantage of that. That's only unfortunately within the Darwin metropolitan area where I happen to be and where I happen to work. If you don't and you've never used the Digital Solutions Program before, it's a $44 program, which allows you to access 3 one-hour sessions with an advisor like myself, or from one of the many other advisors. We've got a lot of Facebook experts on our advisory panel. So it's about 30 of us, 35 of us. So you can choose the one that suits you, someone who's close by to you if you want to see them in person, or you can choose me as well from the list of different advisors you may want to use. $44 gets you those 3 sessions, plus access to as many of our webinars or as many of our online or local workshops as you would like to attend as well. In fact, you can attend workshops online without registering for the program. We just like to have you in there and be able to access some of the great content we're producing. A second way that you can do this is through the Facebook Blueprint. So Facebook Blueprint, or Meta Blueprint as it's about to be renamed, is online courses that last between 5 and 12 minutes each that teach you specific things about everything to do with being a business on the Facebook family of apps. So whether you're trying to increase your following on Instagram, whether you're trying to learn how to make metaverse objects in Spark AR. There's courses there for you as well. And of course, naturally, there's plenty of resources that show you how to use the ads platform to get the best out of it for you. So everything we showed today is also available in the Facebook Blueprint. And if you're looking for a little bit more on the ground support of people who are just like you or myself, I'm in this group as well, you can join the MetaBoost AU group. MetaBoost AU is a private group that's just for Australian business owners. So if you're an Aussie business owner and you want to interact with other Aussie business owners who are using the Facebook family of apps, the ads platform, all that, and you want to get a bit of support from Facebookers, there's actual Facebookers who are in there, as well as myself and some other trainers. Not all 5 of us are in there, but I know I'm in there. Dan is in there occasionally. Melissa's often in there. Claire from New Zealand's often in there as well. I'm in there every day, so answering questions and helping people out as much as I can. You can join that group. It's free, of course, and allows you to connect with people who can help you with some of the things where you get stuck. Not so necessarily account problems where you've been banned or something. That's you've got to handle that through your own account. But through here, you can ask questions about using the tools that Facebook and Instagram and Meta have provided for you. So first of all, I guess this is your chance to ask any questions in the chat window or the Q&A that you might have about ads on Facebook. If not, feel free to follow up with me afterwards through my email address, dante@businessstation.com.au. You can also connect with me on Facebook through my page. Just search my name, you'll find me. It's probably not the profile, the page is probably easier because it allows me to sort of filter things a little easier. Or on LinkedIn, you can get me on there as well. I'm very, very active on LinkedIn, just re-emerging after isolation. At 12 o'clock in about 44 minutes in Darwin time, I'm actually out of isolation and ready to go and take on the world. I'm going to celebrate by having lunch at home and ordering in pizza tonight to watch Netflix. I'm a party animal, like the greatest party animal in my area. I'm sure of it. There's no place like home, hey? So thank you so much for joining me and spending some time on your business, taking time out of your business to work on your business. I appreciate you spending that time on me. If you've got any questions, please do follow up with me through my email address. Again, Dante@businessstation.com.au. And I'd love to let you know that you can follow up with any more of these kind of courses through Business Station as well. We'd love to see you take advantage of them. They're free after all, and we love presenting them as well. So thank you. Have a great weekend, and I hope to see you in the next one of these videos coming up on Monday, I believe that I'm doing. Thank you, and have a great weekend.